Welcome to Opposition Territory here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. We got a great Eagles Broncos pregame preview show coming your way this week. This is going to be a fascinating game, and joining us here is one of our good buddies. Love having him on the first time. We wanted to bring him back to dive into this matchup. Scataglia from Predominantly Orange. My friend, how are you? And thanks so much for joining us this week.
I am good, Jeff. Thank you for having me back. I think this is going to be a very interesting game, to say the least.
Absolutely is going to be interesting. And I guess to start us off here, Lou, I mean, the one thing that I think is very interesting after 4 weeks of play as it pertains to the Denver Broncos here at this point, been an up and down season for them. Frankly, and to be honest, talking before the season started, whether it was with my co-host, some other guests as well, even you, I thought the Broncos were going to be one of a couple, quote, sleeper teams that were really going to impress us this year. They're 2-2 on the season right now. They're at 500. So I guess to start this discussion off in terms of what we may see on the field against Philadelphia Eagles this week, I want to get into the biggest strength of this Broncos team after 4 weeks, and then talk about the biggest weakness as well. So let's start with the strength. What is the biggest strength of the Broncos after 4 weeks of play here?
Yeah, I still think it's the trenches. That's been a strength really since Sean Payton got here. The offensive line is, again, excellent. And pass protection, we have seen the run game come alive these past couple of weeks with J.K. Dobbins. So the Broncos are very good in run blocking and all their assignments and setting up holes. Obviously, the pass rush, I think we have 15 sacks through 4 games. That was going to be a strength. I mean, nothing. We had the same starting defensive line from last year into this year, save for obviously we signed Drake Greenlaw, but he's yet to play, unfortunately. But it's, again, the trenches. And as you would know as an Eagles fan, the trenches are the second most important thing that a team needs to have settled other than the franchise quarterback to win. So, yeah, we're 2-2. Yeah, maybe we're not 3-1 or 4-0, but we're strongest where it matters the most. Expect to see very good pass protection from our offensive line and expect to see Jalen Hurts definitely getting pressured because we can get to the quarterback most every week, and that's going to need to happen here in week 5.
Absolutely. Flip side of things, what's the biggest weakness on this Broncos team that you have seen, what we may actually see here in week 5 against the Eagles?
Yeah, I think sometimes down on offense, we're still pretty inconsistent. We still don't have a consistent go-to guy on offense. It's not yet been Sutton because he can kind of disappear. Evan Ingram hasn't gotten going. We traded Devon Vele. I remember I was on last and I said Devon Vele is going to be a dude, and we traded him to the New Orleans Saints. So I would say down consistency on offense is still a little up in the air. And believe it or not, our defense just really hasn't been as good as I thought it would be. We've actually allowed points on every single opening drive this year, albeit it's been a field goal, but we're practically gifting the opponent a free 3 points to begin each game. I don't know what the deal is, but there's been times where Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, and even Jake Browning at the beginning of the Cincinnati game, this, you can throw on this defense, and I don't like that. I definitely would have expected, especially in the secondary, a little bit things to be a little bit tighter. This isn't, as of now, this isn't the shutdown elite defense that it was last year. Now we're still in the first, quarter of the season, so things can change. And maybe with another, iffy passer in Jalen Hurts, the defense can again have a strong performance. But I guess in the same way, it's similar to the Eagles defense. Just it feels like a slight regression so far this year. Despite having, 2 very good defensive coordinators, you'd like to see more. I'd personally like to see more from the defense. And then again, obviously the down consistency on offense, I think still isn't there yet.
Play-by-play with the Philadelphia Eagles from a defensive standpoint, you're going to get amazing, fantastic play from players like Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Even in terms of your linebacker play with Zach Bond, you're going to have some fantastic plays being made. But then again, it's a theme that we've been talking about on this show, the pass rush. The Eagles pass rush is there to an extent, but they're not getting home. Hardly any sacks this season. And on the flip side of things, you talked about what the secondary might be for this Broncos team. You've got Jalen Hurts that's only passed for 609 yards this season so far. It's not a stellar passing game by the Philadelphia Eagles by any stretch. But I mean, that's a good segue into the next topic here. Want to get into these quarterbacks, what we're going to be seeing from Bo Nix and Jalen Hurts. I mean, Bo Nix this past week, he threw 42 times. 42 times. He's and I was so excited to see the progression from him this year, and we still certainly may see a ton of progression. He's kind of just been that middle of the pack type of quarterback when you take a look at his NFL quarterback power rankings here. Jalen Hurts, again, has a ton of rushing yards. As I mentioned, only put up 609 passing yards. My gosh, Bryce Young and Cam Ward, Lou, they have more air yards than Hurts here. So a two-part question, another two-part question here for you about Nix and Hurts. First with Nix, what have you seen from Bo Nix so far this season that you've liked from him and what you've also disliked?
Sure. So, I mean, Bo Nix is leaps and bounds ahead of where he was at this time last year, and that should be a thing because he's not a rookie anymore. He's actually played quite well the past 3 games. I think that first game against Tennessee has really kind of brought down the raw stats because he threw 2 picks, but as you know, week 1 is just a 4th preseason game. He's got a 100 passer rating over the last 3 weeks, so I do think he's playing a little bit better than the stats might indicate. I definitely like that he is pushing the ball down the field. He is generally putting the ball where it needs to be. We have had about 4 or 5 big-time drops already. Troy Franklin had a drop. It was going to be a 50-yard gain, maybe even a walk-in touchdown, and it went right through his hands. I definitely like that he has progressed from at this point last year to now. I like that he is definitely staying in the pocket more. He's not really taking off and running as much. I'd like to see him use his legs more, but you can see the comfortability in the pocket. You can see the development from last year into now. I will say that Sean Payton is historically a 500 coach in the month of September. So him being 2-2 with the Broncos being 2-2, you know, it's par for the course. It's what you would expect from a Sean Payton coach team. As for weaknesses with Bo, I do think the footwork at times is still a little bit sloppy. I think it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. I think Bo Nix is such a fast processor that if he sees something open, he wants to get rid of the ball as quick as possible. But that sometimes hurts, you know, footwork wise, because he's maybe not getting his feet set because he sees an open man. And if he just took that split second to set his feet and deliver on a clean base, you know, he maybe has a few more completions. So I do think the mechanics at times have still been a little bit shaky, but I mean, I don't want to, you know, drink the orange Kool-Aid, but that's like kind of honestly it. Like that's really been his only weakness is that, you know, the footwork can get a little sloppy, but I mean, he's a second-year quarterback. He's made, 21 starts in the NFL, so he's still developing. He's older for a second-year player. He's 25, but he's on the right track, and I think that he's probably a little bit better than what the raw stats might indicate, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, as somebody on the outside looking at Bo Nix and what he's done so far this season, when he is outside the pocket, when he is on the run, he's completing passes. There's something to be said for that in this league where defenses have really stepped up their game over the past couple of seasons. But, you know, when we look at Jalen Hurts here, again, you know, we are seeing a bizarre Eagles offense where they are dominating in one quarter and absolutely crapping the bed. Not the quarter, the half. They're dominating in a half, and then the next half or vice versa, there's a whole lot of nothing going on. I mean, in this past game this week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass in the second half. I mean, it's so bizarre. Yes, it was ridiculous. As somebody on the outside looking in, what are your thoughts about Jalen Hurts in this Eagles passing game here, Lou?
So I have very vocally been a lot lower on Jalen Hurts than maybe most people. I think he is a below average passer, and yes, the offensive coordinators have switched for like the past 5 years, but Jalen Hurts has never been a quarterback that you can build a consistent drop back passing game with. That's just not who he is. He doesn't see the middle of the field well. He's not really someone who can play on time and in rhythm, and he takes a lot more sacks than you think, despite having consistently top 5 offensive lines. I know this year's a little bit different with Dickerson. I know he has been playing well, and I think the interior overall just hasn't been up to snuff. But I think a lot of those issues are magnified when a new offensive coordinator comes in, right? So he was pretty solid with Kellen Moore last year, but then he gets a head coaching job, and now you're kind of seeing Jalen Hurts' weaknesses kind of magnified. And then the year after Steichen got poached for the Colts, it was his name's escaping me. The quarterback's coach. He was the offensive coordinator after that in 2023.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Why am I forgetting
Robinson?
It? Oh yeah. Yes. You're right on the right track.
Gosh, what's his name?
He was very he was very forgettable.
But
yes.
Yeah, the point here is that the offensive coordinator turnovers doesn't really help Jalen Hurts, but I also don't think he's not somebody that you can say, all right, Jalen, we're going to need you to throw the ball 18 times this half to get us back in the game. That's not going to happen, despite having elite weapons like Brown and Devontae Smith. So I really think the Broncos need to dare the Eagles to pass the ball. I think they'll be able to stop the run because I know the run game has had issues, but I really think they need to get the Eagles in a situation where Jalen Hurts has to throw the ball, because I think that's kind of the weakness of this team overall, and I think that's kind of how Denver wins this game.
Yeah, and Saquon Barkley only averaging about 3.3 yards per rush this year, really. And Brian Johnson, that's who
Brian Johnson. There we go.
That's who it was.
There we go.
Again, very forgettable. However, as we're moving along here, we're talking about offenses, and I wanted to dive into before we go to a break here, Lou. Wanted to dive in what we're going to be seeing from J.K. Dobbins, the rushing attack, and how that's going to be balanced with the passing attack, and what Bo Nix is hoping to do against this Eagles secondary, again, who has Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. They've been very, very productive over the past few weeks. Sure. I mean, J.K. Dobbins having a very, very nice season, coming off a number of injuries. Yeah, I mean, he's been at the forefront of the Broncos rushing attack. He's got 323 yards rushing, which is fourth in the league. And I'm wondering, how do you see that balance really between the passing game and the rushing attack really taking shape here, and in terms of what we might see this week against the Eagles? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so Bo Nix's passing attempts last week were definitely inflated because we had that 2-minute drill to end the first half. So it was like pass play, pass play, pass play. I do think Sean Payton really loves to have a balanced run pass split, especially now when we have a running back like Dobbins. I'm going to take a victory lap here. I was pounding the table for months for J.K. Dobbins on the Broncos, and so far I could not have been more right.
Yeah.
I definitely think we are going to see more of an emphasis on running the ball on Sunday, because I think we want to shorten this game and get out of town with the win. And seeing as we've had great success running the ball, we're averaging over 5 yards per carry. I really think Sean Payton wants to get J.K. Dobbins going. To add a layer to that, in week 5, what Sean Payton did with the run game more is, instead of switching personnel during series, he decided to more so keep in Dobbins or Harvey for an entire series or most of a series to see if they could get in a rhythm. And both Dobbins and Harvey had their best games of the season on Monday Night Football. So I think we're going to see a heavy dose of J.K. Dobbins. It wouldn't shock me if he was close to 20 carries, and it wouldn't shock me if Bo Nix was under 30 passing attempts. I just think when you're in a hostile environment like this, against a really good secondary, but against a defense that you can run the ball on, I do think we are going to see Sean Payton really try to get Dobbins and Harvey going. And I think, obviously, if you can do that, that's going to open up the play action pass for Bo Nix. You have good downfield targets in Mims and Sutton. You have the jump ball guy in Sutton, and then you have someone like Troy Franklin who can definitely win on some of those underneath routes and in the middle of the field. And then obviously you have Evan Ingram, who I think can get going here soon. But I definitely think you're going to see a balanced attack, unless, we fall behind and it's the second half and Sean needs to say, hey, Bo, you need to go win the game for us. But otherwise, you're going to see a balanced attack for sure.
It's going to be fascinating to see if the Eagles are going to be able to stop that attack, quite frankly, because sometimes I think Eagles' luck may be running out week by week based on how they're playing on both sides of the ball. So that being said, Lou, where can folks find you on the social medias out there, just on the web, if they want to connect with you? Where can they find you, buddy?
Sure. So I'm active on Twitter. My Twitter is Lou Scataglia PO. So Lou Scataglia, predominantly orange, just abbreviated PO. And then I run the predominantly orange socials. I write just endless amounts of articles on predominantly orange and on NFLspinzone.com. That's where you can definitely find me. And that's really it. My personal Twitter and the predominantly orange socials is where I am at.
Perfect. And if you are watching on YouTube here, Like and subscribe to us. You can hit that bell to be notified when we post new videos. Again, like and subscribe to us here at the PST Podcast Show. We are on various social media sites as well. Just search out myself. You can search out my co-host Eric as well. We are on Instagram, Twitter/X. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. You can like our Facebook page. We're on Threads, and Eric and I are over on Blue Sky as well. We are going to take a break, but when we get back, we've got more of this preview coming your way. Stick with us. All right, we're back with our good friend Lou Scataglia from Predominantly Orange, a great site, great content if you want to follow more about what's happening with the Denver Broncos. And as we're moving along here, I want to talk about the defense, specifically talk about the trenches, because the one thing, that we've been monitoring over these weeks is how, and you kind of mentioned it before the break as well, Eagles left guard Landon Dickerson. I mean, he's been playing not well at all. And I think it's due to a nagging back injury that he's had since the preseason. Okay. He's given up 3 sacks at this point. He's allowed 13 pressures. You mentioned the interior of the Eagles offensive line. Yeah. They're just not having that great of a season. Tyler Steen, Cam Jurgens, we're seeing Cam Jurgens a couple times this season floating the ball over Jalen Hurts' head when Hurts is in shotgun. Look, Landon Dickerson has certainly been a weak link on this Eagles offense at this point because of this injury, and I think the Broncos are going to do all they can to exploit not only him but the interior of the offensive line. How do you see the Broncos defense and the defensive front really leveraging and trying to get control of the Eagles offensive line, which is in general a pretty good offensive line? What are your thoughts here, Lou?
Yeah, so Vance Joseph, our defensive coordinator, loves to blitz. He blitzes all the time, and it just so happens that the Zach Allen is on our defense. He led the NFL with 40 quarterback hits last year, so he could be, in some vein, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, definitely a top 5 defensive end. So I really think you're going to see Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers, a very underrated player. I think those guys are going to be able to create a lot of interior pressure because they've done it at a high level for over a year now. I don't really think Vance Joseph is going to do anything special in this game in terms of rushing the passer. We blitz at one of the highest rates in the NFL. Nick Bonito, I think, leads the NFL in quick pressure. So I think you're going to see strong play from Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper. And I think our pass rush works really well together because if you double team a Zach Allen, well, then you're going to leave Nick Bonito with a one-on-one. If you try and double Nick Bonito, well, then you're going to leave Zach Allen maybe one-on-one with Landon Dickerson. So I really think, again, I'm not trying to drink the orange Kool-Aid, but I really think Jalen Hurts is going to be I think he's going to have his hands full with this pass rush. I think, especially with this interior being kind of shaky this year, I think you're going to see a lot of interior pressure. DJ Jones, our defensive tackle, is not anything special in terms of rushing the passer, but he's 6 feet tall, so he's got a lot of leverage. He's 300 pounds, so he's definitely got a lot of leverage on some of these centers. So I think he can get in the backfield for sure and create some pressure up the middle as well. Again, I don't think you'll see anything different from the Broncos defense. I think Vance Joseph sees the weaknesses along the Eagles offensive line, and I think he is going to challenge his players to get to Jalen Hurts and create some pressure, see if maybe we can force a strip sack, couple batted balls, maybe get off the field, because I know Philly leads the league in 3 and outs. So I definitely think Vance Joseph is going to prioritize that. But again, I don't think it's going to be anything massively different than what we've done this year.
Yeah, I think the Broncos defense could absolutely eat this week. I really do. I think so. I think it's a possibility too. Yes, Eagles are 4-0, but it's a bizarre 4-0.
It really is.
For sure. Yeah. Well, buddy, before I let you go, we always ask our guests on our Opposition Territory show these 2 questions about what's one thing each team is going to need to hit on for a win. So let's start with the Denver Broncos here. What's the one thing the Denver Broncos are going to need to hit on for a win against the Philadelphia Eagles this week?
Sure. So I definitely think, the run game has to get going. When you play, away from home in a hostile environment, you have to be able to run the ball. And I am not sure if we need Bo Nix to throw the ball 42 times against the Vic Fangio defense. I'm not sure he's quite there yet to be able to do it. And I'm not sure we have the outside weapons to consistently win against Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So I really think we're going to need to eclipse 100, 120, 150 rushing yards to win this game and to shorten the game. Yeah. But you're also going to need to see some success with the play action passing. with the drop back passing game. Bo Nix, he's going to have to complete some passes, but most importantly, the run game has to get going. It got going last week against the Bengals. It's gotten going almost every game this year, so I really think this is when it's going to have to be at its best through the first 5 weeks of the season for sure.
All right. And on the flip side of that, what's one thing the Philadelphia Eagles are going to need to hit on for a week against the Denver Broncos this week, Lou?
So obviously, if Saquon can get going, that would be maybe a huge surprise because I'm not sure he's gotten going yet this year. But I do think the one way that the offense can win against the Broncos defense is maybe a lot of quick passes. Jalen Hurts, drops back, 3-5-step drop, and gets the ball out quickly on maybe some out routes near the sideline to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Those 6, 7, 8-yard gains on first and second down, those, nickel and dime type of plays to sort of eat up the clock and to get the passing game going, I think is a way that the Eagles can win this game because I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be able to drop back and wait for some of these more long developing routes, like, I don't know, like a post route or something or anything down the field. I know both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are very good, as downfield targets, especially A.J. Brown because he's so big and physical. But I don't think he's going to be able to do that with how good our pass rush is. So I really think the quick passing game could be the key here for the Eagles. And if they can have success with the quick passing game, I think it could be a long day for the Broncos defense.
Yeah, great analysis, and it's always great having you on, Lou. Seriously, I thoroughly enjoyed our discussion here. Again, folks, Lou Scataglia from predominantlyorange.com over at Fansided. Fantastic content all the time. My friend, thank you for taking the time to do our pregame preview show here. Again, come back, join us down the road.
Sure.
We can talk more Broncos, more NFL football as well. I'd love to have you back, my friend.
Yep. Thank you, Jeff. Broncos 23, Eagles 21.